Hi, this is Annie Grace, and I'm answering readers' questions. And today I have a great question from Miguel. He says, "Hi, Annie, how can alcohol be a depressant when it makes me so happy?" Oh, this is such a good question. And we all kind of know this, right? Like common knowledge, alcohol is a depressant. No wonder it makes us feel depressed, but what gives when it doesn't make us feel depressed at all? What gives when it actually feels like it relieves our depression, actually feels like it makes us happier? I know that in my personal journey, one of the big turning points for me, it's really hard to map the point in time where my drinking became more of a problem and less just daily drinking or social drinking. But if I look back and scrutinize kind of my history, I can say that after the birth of my second son, I was diagnosed with postpartum depression. And in those months, I remember really drinking to alleviate that pain of depression. And it felt like it worked. It was feeling like it was helping. I was doing it and looking forward every single day to when I could drink in order to get myself out of the funk that I had found myself in. And so I understand this completely. Like, how can alcohol be a depressant when it makes me feel better, when it actually kind of numbs my depressant nature? And so it's so fascinating because alcohol is a super complex substance. And there's a lot of different aspects to this. One thing that alcohol does, and it's undisputed, is alcohol will numb the brain and body. And so in short bursts, meaning as long as it takes from when you consume alcohol until when it's purged from your system, there will be a numbing effect. And that numbing effect can be so great that it can make us completely unconscious, where we don't feel anything at all. And this is true. Or it can make us have a complete blackout where we don't remember anything at all, even though we are conscious, which a blackout, that's what that is. It's different than being passed out, which is just complete physical unconscious and mental unconscious. A blackout is just that you are physically conscious, but you don't have any memory or any recollection of what's happening. And so alcohol can do both of those things. Very intense numbing effect. Alcohol was actually used in surgeries as a numbing mechanism. They would give people a lot of alcohol before they do surgery on them, before they found safer methods to use as anesthetic. So there is this numbing mechanism. And so if we're feeling really down and we drink alcohol, it can have a numbing effect, but it has a numbing effect with such a high cost. Cost of feeling out of control, cost of addiction, cost of being very bad for our bodies, all of these really high costs. The other thing that's really fascinating about alcohol is, although it is a depressant, it is also a stimulant. And so I wanted to take a second to explain how this works, because I think it gives a lot of insight into this specific question, which is why, if alcohol is a depressant, when I drink it, do I feel happy? So here's how it works. Alcohol is both a stimulant and a depressant. And when you first have a drink of alcohol, your blood alcohol content starts rising. And during that rise, you feel pretty nice feelings. That's kind of that euphoric, tipsy. You feel like things are just a bit easier. You feel like things are a bit smoother. You might feel like the room is getting a little bit fuzzy. You might feel a little bit dizzy. You feel just slightly like the edge off, right? And that's that buzz. And so we all talk about that buzz. Now, if you time that buzz for that first drink, it lasts about 20 minutes. There's a lot of people who have timed it for multiple drinks, and the next drink, it might be 15 minutes. The next drink, it might be 8 minutes. By the fourth drink, you don't even feel that buzz at all. And so it's really fascinating. And if you're still actively drinking, timing it can be completely enlightening to be like, well, how long am I happy for? And so if we're taking the average, which is about 20 minutes, that correlates with how long your blood alcohol content is rising. And so that stimulant effect of giving you maybe a bit more energy, that tipsy feeling, lasts for about 20 minutes. The thing is then it levels off. And your blood alcohol starts to fall because your body says, hey, that thing, that's an intruder, that's a toxin. We need to get rid of that. We need to purge that. We need to get that out of the body, get that out of the system. And so your blood alcohol content starts to fall. And that's when alcohol becomes a depressant. And the feeling of your blood alcohol content falling is very uncomfortable. You feel uneasy, you feel anxious, you feel tired, you feel unwell, you feel restless, you don't feel good in your own skin, you feel like just something's off, something's wrong. And what do? Around 20, 25 minutes in, we reach for another drink because we try to keep the blood alcohol content rising. Now, of course, it's diminishing returns, which means that every single time we reach for another drink, that up effect is less time and the down effect ends up being longer. The real kicker here is that 20 minutes of blood alcohol content rising, that stimulant effect, that pleasure you're experiencing is traded for 2 to 3 hours of your blood alcohol content falling. So it's a very unfair trade, just a few minutes of it rising for a few hours of your blood alcohol falling and you feeling all of those really not so pleasant effects. And I've timed this myself plenty of times. You can do it for yourself, but just have one drink and decide that you're just going to have one drink for the next 2 or 3 hours. Allow that feeling of up, time how long it lasts, and then notice how long you feel stressed, unwell, restless, uneasy afterwards. And a lot of times we don't correlate that with alcohol because alcohol just made us feel good. So, just like the question, if it's a depressant, how did it just make me happy? And we just say, oh, we just had a really bad day. Oh, I'm just stressed. Or what the brain does very, very well when it's feeling emotional distress is it looks, where's the circumstance? What is the circumstance that I can pin this on? Our brain is always trying to find circumstances to make sense of our emotional distress. So the emotional distress might be coming from the fact that alcohol is acting as a depressant as soon as the body starts to purge it 20 minutes after your first drink. But your brain is going to look around and say, oh, it must be my partner. Oh, it must be my job. Oh, it must be my kids. Oh, it must be the fact I don't have enough money. Oh, it must be the fact that I ate so badly this week, or all of these external circumstances, because that is how the brain makes sense of the world. And it's not just logical without knowing this information for your brain to be like, it must be a chemical reaction because alcohol is being purged from my body and therefore my blood alcohol content is actually decreasing. And when alcohol is decreasing in the body, that leads to a depressant effect. Of course, your brain isn't going to think that. I mean, it just even sounds silly. So now that you know this, though, you can have this level of awareness of like, yeah, it makes you happy for about 20 minutes, and then it costs you 2 to 3 hours. And we mask that by continuing to have drinks. Unfortunately, we only get the happy for just a few drinks. It's that law of diminishing returns. It's less and less time each time. And then we have that 2 to 3 hours is per drink. So then we have 6, 9, 12 hours of feeling really bad. And actually, you know this to be true because after 4 or 5 drinks, you wake up the next morning with a pit in your stomach. You wake up super anxious, super uneasy, super restless, super depressed. And you just blame it on your circumstances because that's what the brain does. It doesn't say, maybe that's the cumulative depressant effect of all of the drinks I had the night before. It doesn't think that without this information that you now know, which is so exciting because you can't unlearn this stuff. And that is exactly why alcohol can seem to make you happy when it is in fact a depressant.